Hi, this is Controlled Chaos, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Crossout versus Wheel Riders Online. So let's go ahead and get started. I hope you enjoy. Both Crossout and Wheel Riders Online are vehicle combat games where you build your vehicle. We're going to be looking at several different areas: gameplay, graphics, sound effects, UI, physics, and things like that. I'm going to be looking at both as a game player and as a professional game developer having a degree in game design and working for both small and big game development companies, from doing QA all the way to actual game design and graphics design. So first, let's start with graphics. Crossout's graphics are well thought out. They wanted to go with a Mad Max feel, and they've done great with time. They spent time in creating their graphics and textures and models to look good. They layered graphics on top of one another when creating their textures. They spent time on their models to make sure that they looked good quality. They spent time in making sure everything fit in the world just right. And that's really good. In game, the particle systems look good. You got great explosions, you got great dust effects. When riding around when it's a dry day, it's rainy, the mud splashes up, you get rain feel hitting the screen. You know, nice muzzle flashes from the weapons. Just all feels right. It all fits together very, very well. Wheel Riders Online, on the other hand, it's like they didn't even try, or it was made by an amateur team that didn't really know what they were doing. They were just grabbing things online. And that's textures. It looks like they just went to CG Textures, grabbed the texture they want, plopped a color on it, said, that's good, we're done. And that's not really good. Elements don't match together. For instance, the in-game world looks decent and okay, but their UI looks like it's from the 90s or early 2000s. Now, they're using the Unreal Engine, and it has great power in it and does great things, but you have to be a good developer to use it. Or at least a decent developer. A developer that's thinking and puts their time into it. And Wheel Riders Online, they didn't take that time. They just sort of threw things on and went, oh, that looks good, that's fine. And the way that's really noticeable is they used the blur effect. Blur effect has to be used at the right time in the right moderation, and they didn't do it. Especially comes into effect, first off, when you're building. They use the blur effect in when you're moving the camera around to build. As a game player, it just doesn't feel right. It made it harder for me to build because I had to wait for the blur to go away to continue building. As a game designer, I wouldn't have even thought of putting a blur effect when someone's building. I will have known immediately it's going to be bad for the player. It makes them harder to see what they're doing when they're quickly trying to build something. The blur effect was also used in game. Now I will give them this. They did okay with the blur effect around the edges of the screen to make it feel like you're picking up speed. It happens a little too soon, but where they really overdid it and they overshot was on the wheels. It's like they cranked the blur effect to 100 and just left it there when you're driving. All that you see is just these two cylinders of gray blur, and it doesn't add that good of emotion in there. It threw me out because it almost felt cartoonish. It blurred it that bad. It's terrible. So with graphics to the side, let's move on to sound. The sound in Crossout, once again, was well thought out. They got good sounds. They made sure that they're nice and crisp, that they're good quality. And they may not have had that at the beginning, but they probably listened to it and said, ooh, that's not good. If you go back and you listen to my first video I did, there's hissing and crackling as I'm talking. I went, ooh, that's not good. I kept that video there, and it's still online. All my videos since then have taken that hissing and crackling out. I spent the time to adjust things to sound right, and I still take critiques back. And the sounds just feel right in Crossout. They spent time getting the right sound or creating the right sound for each weapon, for when you put the pieces together, for each engine and chassis and things like that. Just have unique, nice sounds. It feels the way it should. You put big beefy engine in there, you want to hear a big beefy like muscle engine sound. You put a very light engine in there, or something that's going to have a light engine, you expect it to have a very light engine sound, or like a electric engine sound where it just has a hum to it. You know, same with how they did the sound for when you're driving around. You can tell when you're on grass, you can tell when you're on gravel, you can tell when you go into the water, you can tell when you're on asphalt, when you bump into things, when you grind into things. All sound good. Real Riders Online, they threw some sounds in, and they didn't throw some sounds in. And when I mean threw some sounds in, it's like they once again went online, found some sounds, and just threw them in. And it's across the board that way. When you're putting things together in the build mode, it's a simple clank sound. It doesn't have a weight to it. Not like Crossout does. When you put two pieces together, there's weight of them slamming together. In Wheel Riders Online, it just sounds like you're tapping them together. And then when you're in game and you're driving around, I didn't even hear the engine. No engine sound. Driving on the ground, all the different types of ground I drove on, it sounded the same. When shooting the gun, it sounded like something bland, taken offline, not adjusted, not enhanced to really stick out. And that's a bummer. They missed once again on the sound quality of things. So now let's go ahead, let's go into the UI, the user interface. Crossout's UI, again, well thought out in placement. When you go into the build screen, it's all up top, telling you what buttons do what. When you go to place an item, they connect together, giving you the connection spots and how many connection spots there are. And then when you're not putting a piece together, but you're going to select a piece when building, it puts an orange outline around what you selected, making it very noticeable for the selection you've made. When you go in game, there's a nice mini map that fits into it. It's radar-like. Gives you your north, your south, your west. And there's icons down at the bottom that show you what weapons will fire when you hit what button. There's also a health bar above that for your health. There's a nice crosshair sections. And the great thing is it's not just crosshairs. It's layered crosshairs. So when you're just got a machine gun, it's got your own crosshairs. When you got a shotgun, it put brackets out there showing you that there's width to some of your shots. When you have missile launchers, they put out wider black brackets out there. When you have a cannon, it puts your crosshairs and then it puts an elevation thing below it so you can elevate and better aim your weapon, making it better for the player, allowing them to use tactics and not guess. all around the board in UI design. Same with when you go in to adjust the options. You got an option for graphics, you got an option for sound, and in those options you have multiple things to tweak and play with. You know, especially when you go into sound, they separated out the sound effects from the music, from the voiceovers. You can turn each off, you can lower each one individually. It's thought out. All of it. Wheel Riders Online, it's simple, it's basic, it's all sometimes non-existent. When you go into the build mode, part of your buttons that you can choose are on top, part of them are on the left, on what does what, so you're having to move your eyes around more instead of just scrolling across one thing. And that makes it a bit harder to build quicker. The other thing is it has that connection point thing that Crossout has, which is good, it's smart, but when you go to select or hover over one of the build parts, problem is no outline whatsoever, so you don't know what part you're selecting. You have to basically guess if you have two parts really close to another or overlapping one another. That's bad. Here's the thing, it gets even worse in gameplay. When you're in the game and you're playing, the HUD is almost non-existent. No crosshairs. No mini-map that I could notice, because if there was one, there's no border to it. Not separating it from the world that you're playing in. It doesn't give a feel. And that's why I didn't notice it if there is one. Let's move on to the options UI for Wheel Riders Online.
For the graphics options, they went with an okay aesthetics of sort of like gauges that you'd find in a car for a speedometer and things like that. Problem is that they went overboard on the graphics in those gauges, and the letters are just a thin white lines, make it really hard to read what gauge does what for the graphics. And that's just really terrible in design. You want the words for what options you're trying to change pop out and stand out, along with the change notification. And that gauge line is also really, really thin. Now, their sound options that they have there, they have one for music, they have one for sound effects and things like that. And it's nicer design because it's all height bars, so it's easy to tell what you're changing and doing. It would have been nice if they would have taken that design that they did for the sound options and put it in for the graphics also. It would have made a better sense.
Next, let's go ahead and let's talk about physics of the game. In Crossout, they thought their physics out really, really well. Everything has weight, and how you place it on that vehicle determines how that vehicle is going to act. You put too much weight in the front, it's gonna lean forward. Put too much weight in the back, it's gonna lean back. Both in standing still and in takeoff. So if you got some weight in the front, more weight in the back, when it takes off, it's gonna lift up some. And it's gonna do a wheelie. And that's really sort of cool. It's fun. It's interesting. It may not be fully 100% realistic, but it's fun. The weapons physics, once again, well thought out, well worked on. You can build a light vehicle and put cannon on it. Where you put that cannon determines how that vehicle is going to act. You put it in front, the very tip of the front, and you fire that cannon off, it's going to pick up some in the front, and it's going to slide the vehicle back. You put that cannon in the back, it's going to slide back a little bit, but it's going to pop a wheelie like you won't believe. Now, here's something really cool, and I love this. There's a guy that made a light vehicle with a cannon on each side. And when he fired it, it would do both cannons, it would do a 360 and land back on its wheels. Is that realistic? No. Is it fun? Oh, hell yeah. Got me laughing both times. If you can make the player laugh, they're enjoying themselves, they're going to play the game longer. And that's where game developers will ignore realistic physics. And say, forget that. If people enjoy this, they like this, that's the better thing to go for. And that's exactly what Crossout did. It was a smart move. And I congratulate them on that. When in-game and driving around, you have that feel of suspension, both in the weight that you have of the vehicle and the type of wheels you're using. If it's a lightweight vehicle and you got big shocks on that vehicle, it's going to bounce a little bit, but not much when you do a big jump. If you have a heavy vehicle and shocks on it, even heavy shocks, and you do a jump, it's going to bounce more. Even the tank treads in the game they wave a bit, showing that there's some shock and suspension like tank treads actually should. You know, and that's really, really cool. The physics in Wheel Rider Online, terrible. It's just like they closed their eyes and they tapped in a bunch of numbers. You can't feel the physics much when you're shooting. When you're driving, you can't hear the engine. You stop, you get the screech. You know, and it stops and the vehicle jiggles a bit. When you go ahead and hit a big bump, the vehicle flies in all these different directions. It's bad. It's all around bad physics. It feels like you're in a vehicle that the shocks are just totally wrecked on it and gone and blown out. It's not fun. It doesn't make it fun to drive around in the world. So next I want to talk about is the actual building in the game and what it's like to build in both of these games. In Crossout, you've got a bunch of parts to choose from. You got cabins, you got frames, you got different types of weapons. You know, you got different armor pieces to choose in. You got different engines and different radiators and stuff like that, and armor pieces to throw on. And in each of these categories, there's at least 8 or more different pieces to choose from. In frames, at least. In armor. In structure. Oh my god, the list is just enormous. I'm thinking 20, 30 different pieces alone. In cabins, once again, it's 8 or so. In weapons, you got machine guns, you got shotguns, you got missile launchers, both guided, unguided, heat-seeking, you got grenade launchers, flamethrowers, melee weapons, both, you know, just bladed and actual moving, like buzzsaws and drills and harvesters, and it's thought out and very well thought out, because some of these vehicle pieces have side effects. They're the higher end ones, but they all have side effects. And they all affect the vehicle differently. All of them have a mass to them. All of them have a tonnage. They have a acceleration, and you know, will take away from acceleration. They'll have, you know, different damage that they can do, different range that they can do for weapons. It's all very intricate. You can do a lot of min-maxing in Crossout if that's your kind of thing. you go into Wheel Riders Online and you get a couple of frame pieces, you get a couple of chassis, you get a couple weapons. At the most, I think I saw 8 in variety in any one given category. And that's just bad, you know. And when you went to look at what these weapons did, once again, very little change in difference, and they didn't physically change how the vehicle moves at all, and that's a bummer, because it really has no gameplay effect of value in changing things out like Crossout does. So let's go ahead and let's move on to the actual in-game combat of these online games. In Crossout, the gameplay was good. I enjoyed it. Whenever I clicked that, let's go into battle, but I never waited more than 5 minutes, and that was, I think, when the population was at its lowest. And that's, you know, 2 or 3 in the morning my time, and I've played all different times of the day. The other great thing is it has PvP, PvE, and an open world where you can just wander yourself and fight enemies. And that one is almost instantaneous. You wait a couple of seconds because it tries to match you up with up to 3 other players to play together. If it doesn't find anyone, it just throws you into the world by yourself. It has storyline, and that's nice. It gives you a feel for the world. With Wheel Riders Online, I tried for hours to try to find a match. Never got a chance to try any combat, so I couldn't judge on their particle effects. On that, I couldn't judge on their sound effects when you hit another vehicle. I never got a chance to try the combat. The game's like dead. It's a desert, and that's it. There's no bots. There's no PvE. There's no open world for you to roam around and do combat against bots. And I was trying for hours, and that's just terrible. And with that being said, let's go ahead and let's talk about overall. Overall, my thoughts: don't even try Wheel Riders Online. Crossout is where it's at. They took the time. They built it well. Here's the thing. Both games released at around the same time on Steam. With that being said, they should have been paying attention to one another. Looks like Crossout was. Wheel Riders wasn't paying attention to its competition one bit. It was all haphazardly put together. Crossout by far wins. You want to play a vehicle combat game with building in it that's like Robocraft, but has a different feel to it environmentally, Crossout is the game you want to give a try. Ignore Wheel Riders Online. It's not worth your time. But, you know what? I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. So if you've tried both, or you've looked at both, comment down below. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on these 2 games? Or at least, let me know what you think of this video. Enjoy your day. Have a good one.
If you enjoyed this video, please press that like button, subscribe, and if you want more information on videos coming up, click that notification button. Also, in the description you will find links to my social media for Facebook, Twitter, and our Discord server.